Hey guys, it's Fuzzy Owl. Today I'm going to be doing a video that's going to have heavy spoilers. So if you didn't hear me say that, I'm going to put it up on the screen. Spoilers for Avengers Endgame in this video. So one of the things I've been seeing going around the internet is kind of the confusing timeline for what happens with time travel in Endgame. And what I wanted to do is kind of, as succinctly as I possibly can, which I'm not usually good at, explain at least what I think is going on with Captain America at the end and how they actually did that. Now, keep in mind, I've only seen the film once. I don't have clips of it, but if I remember correctly, when Professor Hulk is talking to the Ancient One, she states that if you remove a stone from the timeline, you got one timeline. If you remove a stone, it creates like a divergent, like alternate timeline, right? Which they do that. They remove all 6 stones. So in theory, there are technically 6 or more alternate realities going on. With the stipulation that if they return the stones, then those kind of all vanish. It's almost as if it didn't happen or something like that. I could be getting that wrong. But if that is correct, the way that works is they create all these alternate timelines by getting the stones. They do their thing in Endgame. Professor Hulk snaps everyone back. Tony snaps Thanos and his force away, and they win, right? Now, that means that there are a bunch of alternate timelines going on at that current moment. So, with the stipulation that if they return the stones, those timelines go away, and it's just back to the main timeline, what happens at the end with Captain America is he returns all the stones. Takes however long he needs, but only 5 seconds for them back in the main timeline. Now, once 5 seconds hits, they count down. Captain America doesn't come back. Bucky and Falcon see him sitting over there as an old man. So one of the theories that I saw was that Cap lived out his life in an alternate timeline and then used the suit to jump back as an old man just to say goodbye and to give Falcon the shield and everything. Why I don't think that's correct is because of what the Ancient One said. What I'm assuming happened is they've always been in the main timeline except for when they're jumping technically dimensions, not really time. They're going back in time, but taking the stone creates a dimension. So Cap goes back and he returns all the stones. Whatever order he did it in, I don't think necessarily matters. Like, I don't think he had to do the Tesseract last, especially since they got it from like the 1970s, so he would have lived from the 70s on. And where he's dancing with Peggy is clearly like still the 40s or 50s. The Ancient One only states that taking stones is what creates these alternate timelines, and that the butterfly effect thing doesn't really make too big of a difference. So what that means technically is once Cap returns all the stones, he could have just used some Pym particles to jump back to the 40s and explain everything to Peggy and live out his life with her. And that's why it's confusing, because that wasn't necessarily succinct at all, but he made all the timelines the main timeline again by returning the stones. Whatever Peggy is saying in Winter Soldier is either due to her dementia, or whatever she's saying in the video is due to her just covering up that there's 2 Caps, because the way he knows that it's supposed to happen is Cap is supposed to remain frozen all throughout until about, what was it, like 2012 or something. So Cap A lives his life. Cap B comes out of the ice. So if you look at it how Professor Hulk explains it, that if you go back into your past, you're not going back to the past because that's still technically your future. Your current present self is going into something that is your past, but you're still remembering that as your present. So if you go by that Cap A, the Cap that we've been following for since, the 40s, and then he's frozen in ice until 2012, that Cap hits this certain point at Endgame and then goes back. Oof. So that's my theory. Little diagram, main timeline, you pluck stones, alternate timelines. You put the stones back, snaps back into the main timeline. That's what Cap did, used Pym particles to go back and live out his life with Peggy. Which means there's 2 Caps, which means there's 2 America's asses. That's what's important here. Like and subscribe, guys. I'll talk to you in the next one.